Don't overthink it, it's just paint.
Welcome back to this episode of Paint Society, the channel where the learning doesn't stop when the video ends. In this episode, I'm going to show you how you can remove those pesky little dirt nibs and trash that falls right in your paint, and you might think it ruins your paint job. Well, in fact, it doesn't. I'm going to show you how today to completely remove it and look factory fresh. And if you haven't gotten caught up, well, this bumper we painted in our own home garage. We prepped it completely, we primed it completely, and then we set up our paint tent right in the garage and we gave it a nice coat of kinetic blue. But there's a little bit of pesky dirt nibs that might ruin your paint job. And for that, we're gonna be using this little mini block and this tally cut paper. This is a 1200 grit, and it sticks on simply right onto this block. Now a dust nib or a piece of trash will fall into mostly those flat surfaces. And there's a few here, and you can't see them until we start to identify them with the tally cut little hard block. So this is 1200 and a little bit aggressive, but aggressive enough to flatten out the dust nib. Let's take a closer look. And we can see here, there is the high part of the dust nib. So we're gonna keep flattening it out until that high part becomes level with the rest of the clear coat. Now what we're sanding right now is clear coat, and we have a few mils of clear coat to go through, but you don't want to go through too much, so you just want to go through and level it off completely. And right now it's not completely leveled off, so we'll go ahead and just give it a little bit more of a sand, and at that point the 1200 has completely leveled off this one. But there's more. And the way I actually like to do it is I like to take a bigger piece of sandpaper and just go over that surface, and then that's going to highlight where the dust nibs are. Let me show you what that looks like. What I have here is a piece of 2000 on a hand pad, and we're gonna run over this and we're gonna identify where the rest of the dust nibs are. So simply we'll just come here, and we're gonna have to buff this all later, and that's fine. But we want to see exactly what we're working with. And I'm going to show you how this effectively just shows you exactly where they are. Now, not only are we going to sand and buff this whole area, but we're going to remove any sort of little bit of orange peel that you might have. This will remove effortlessly. And when we wipe it, we can now identify some of the little dust nibs. So all we have to do is take our little block, and we want to put our efforts on each one of these little dust nibs individually to make sure they're completely flat. Because if you just go and sand this whole area, you're not going to go ahead and smooth out every one. You want to make sure you go to each and every one and you use this 1200, although it might take a little bit more time. In the end, after it's polished, you're not going to see a little high spot. That little high spot is still going to be that dust nib poking through. So this, since it's a dense, tiny little block, you can ensure that it's going to be nice and flat once you're all done polishing. And that's all it is. Perfect. And when it stops cutting, you can just go right back and replace it with another piece. It's really, really beneficial to get these little tally cuts because they really make quick work. And that one is completely leveled. And over in here, we have a little piece of lint that fell that left a few bumps. If we look closely, we can see there's a couple bumps in that area. That's no problem. All you gotta do is just give a little sand here. Wanna make sure that you don't go too hard because you don't wanna go through the clear coat. If you go through the clear coat, then you're going to have to repaint the whole entire bumper. So there's a fine line, and I don't like to go any more aggressive than 1200 for this type of work. Perfect. See, that's nice and leveled off now. We'll go ahead and finish up these little ones now real quick. Perfect. Now, if you have any other areas that you need to attack, you can go and spot them in. Now, luckily, this came out really good because of our paint preparation, how clean we were. But granted, you will have some areas that will need just a little bit of a touch-up. Now, if you're wondering how long to wait, I will give it a good 24 hours. We're actually back here the next day after painting this bumper cover, and we're ready to give it that nice sand and polish. Now, where do we go from here? Well, you never, ever want to finish by hand. You always want to finish with a DA sander. That's going to leave a much finer, smoother cut. Now, we're not going to use the same 1200. You need to step it up. We're going to step it up now to a 2000 and then to a 3000 to leave this all ready to buff, really nice and easy. And here is the sander. We have our special interface pad and we have our special 2000 grit. Now I'll leave everything in a link in the description. The cool thing about these products is they actually sell it in a starter kit. So you don't have to go and buy a whole bunch of every single one of those grits and a whole bunch of every single one of those big or small sandpapers. You can get a nice starter kit that will have everything to show you if you like it or not. Definitely it works out. So we're gonna go here and we're gonna 2000 this really quick, and that's gonna level everything completely out. And with the 2000 down, we can see how it's starting to pick up a little bit more of a shine. And now we have our 3000, our interface pad, and we have our DA sander. And we're gonna perform that same exact thing right here. And after the 3000, you can see the scratch is refined even more and the gloss will start to get a little bit shinier. Now this makes it a lot easier to polish. And a lot of people hear wet sand and polish or color sand and polish. Well, we don't actually wet sand. We do dry sanding so we can see what we're doing and it's a little bit cleaner. Now, you can wet sand, no problem in those initial stages, but I'm always gonna recommend to you to always get the DA sander out and finish with the DA sander because that's gonna leave a much less aggressive sand scratch to polish. That puts a nice finish with that sandpaper, so when your polisher hits it, it doesn't have to work as hard, and when you're done, you won't see line scratches that are polished. Never do you ever wanna polish anything under than 3000 grit. What might look good now will not look good tomorrow, a week, or a month. So make sure you do your homework, get it refined up to 3000. Let's talk about some polishes now and some compounds and what you're gonna need tool-wise to get this shine back. Now, if you're interested in getting this shine back, you need to use a rubbing compound. Now, it doesn't need to be this one, but it needs to be a rubbing compound. That's the only way you're gonna create that friction with the rotary polisher to bring back that shine. But we're gonna use just a little bit of compound in each spot. We're gonna put it down. And then we're gonna use a rotary polisher. Now this is a must. You must use a rotary polisher to get this shine back. People say you can use a DA polisher, and you can. You'll be here all day. This will do it in half the time and better. The DA polisher, which we're gonna use after this, is to make sure that we don't have any swirls and take away the buffing trails from this guy. So you're gonna need two different types of polishers, a rotary and a DA polisher. Now, for this particular one, what we're gonna do is we're gonna rub it in a little bit. The pad that we have is a 3 imperfected, it's a 6-inch. It works well for these types of areas. Now everyone's gonna have their own way of buffing, okay? But you can do it 100 different ways and get the same result. So we're gonna rub it in a little bit, and you gotta be careful with this guy, because this guy, you can burn through many different areas and do a redo. So I start it low, maybe around 500-600 RPM, just to work it in on your first pass. So we're just gonna work in that product back and forth, and we wanna get that leading edge. That leading edge is gonna be the toughest place to get the compound because of the way it is. And I've got another tool that we can use to get into there. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use the polish that's still there, and we're gonna up it a little bit. It's around 800 RPM. Keep it moving. And don't forget our edge here. But always never ever stop in one spot. Always keep it moving. Then we're gonna stop here and we're gonna wipe off. I'm gonna show you our weak areas. And we're gonna use some detailer spray to kind of get some of that compound loose. This is my buddy Candyman's detailing spray. It works really well. So you can see here, there's already a shine back with that one pass. But then there's gonna be some areas that are just too hard to get. So we're gonna put a little bit of compound in those areas. and we're gonna use a little bit of a mini polisher. Now, this is a Milwaukee, this is a 3-inch polisher, it's got its pad on there. Now, for this particular guide, could you have used this the whole way? Yes, you could, but it's gonna take you a very long time, and really works well for small areas. So we're gonna go in this area here, and you can see how it kind of fits into those smaller areas, and you can manipulate it a little bit on its side. You gotta watch the area here, but you can take the side of it and work the side of that pad to get into here. And that works really well. But this thing will heat up much quicker than that rotary since it's smaller and you can burn the edge. So again, be quick with it. Now the reason why I like it is because I can fit this corner of the pad, it's almost like a 90 right into this leading edge here. So any of those areas that were a little bit too hard to reach with the bigger one, we can get with this guy right in here. Just like this. Perfect. We'll give it a spritz of the detailer. That will loosen up this compound just a little bit. And then what we'll do is I'm gonna go over it one more time with the bigger rotary, make sure we have everything. You can never go over it too much, honestly, because sometimes what happens is you notice that you miss a spot. Give it some compound, that should be it. And then we'll go over it one last time. Give it a spritz, get his compound away and off, and then we're gonna change the rag because this can have compound residue on it, and those compound residue can be a little bit aggressive, so we wanna make sure that we get everything off, so when we go to wipe it in the next stage with the polish, we're not putting any other sort of scratches into the surface. Okay, perfect. Now, before we move on to the next step, we must check our work with this Astro Sunlight gun, and this will show us if we have any areas that are just needing a little bit more attention and a little bit more polish. This will bring them to light, so to speak, and it'll show you if you have any dull areas that you just missed. And based off our polishing, this is just fine. Now, I know you guys are looking at that and you're saying, well, that looks good enough to leave. Well, granted, if I were to take this outside, or if we follow the same procedure on the side of a car, especially a black or a dark vehicle, we would see all these buffer trails everywhere. Now, the rotary polisher is an all-star at removing those sanding scratches left by the 3000 grit, but it really lacks the finesse of removing and polishing out the buffer trails. So we're gonna need to switch to a DA polisher with a fine polish to leave it nice and smooth so when it's outside, we don't have to worry about any sort of poor detailing. And we're gonna be using our Milwaukee polisher. Now, in the description, I'll leave this one and also some cheaper options, as well as some cheaper options for polishing if you're just trying to get a project done without spending a lot of money. This is a finishing polish that I've had in my shed that we're gonna use up, and we have a polishing pad here. So we want to make sure that we're using the right polishing pad. It's not going to be too dense or too firm and that it's going to actually work against us. And that's all it's going to be, is just a little bit of polish. I'll do about 3 little drops here. We'll work that polish in and then we're done. And again, the way that this moves is much different. Whereas the rotary will do full 100% circles, this is going to oscillate in 2 different directions. And that's going to leave a much nicer finish. We'll work it in first. All right, let's check and wipe. Go ahead and give it a wipe first. We have our different rag here. I can see how well this stand holds up to polishing. It's not moving anywhere. That's a real plus. Look at that. Wow, that looks fantastic. Now after that final wipe, you can do your final inspection and take a look at it and see how well it looks. But it's always a better idea to take it outside and really see what it looks like. All right. And check it out, the original finish is superb. It's in great condition. We just wanted to remove those pesky little dust nibs, and you can do that right in your own home garage. You don't have to worry about taking it to a body shop to get it polished. Just the right knowledge and the right tools can give you an outstanding finish. You can see here, this is a factory finish. Remember all this peeling paint from the beginning on episode 1? Well, it's completely gone, and now it's preserved for a lifetime. All right, and it's all ready for Jeremy to pick up and put it back on his car. Oh, wow. That looks really good. Now, I made this video because back in the day, painting in my parents' garage, I would get a lot of dust nibs and dirt, and I thought to myself, how can anyone possibly get a perfect paint job? Then I did a little research on the internet back in the day, and I found out a little sandpaper and polishers existed to remove these particles of dust. So don't feel bad if you got bad paint, bad trash, anything that's in your paint job you think is completely ruined. Don't redo it yet. Just use the tools that we use in this video. You can sand it, polish it, and get it looking really good just like this. Well guys, I really hope this helped you out. If you have any issues in your paint, hopefully this can help clear it up. Until next time guys, this is Brian from Paint Society reminding you, don't overthink it. It's just paint. See you guys in the next episode.